As we venture into the future, one might ponder, what is the role of tariffs in the global economy? How might they shape the path we're set to tread? Today we delve into these questions and more, as we embark on an exploration of the economic landscape sculpted by Trump's tariff policy. Let us rewind to the onset, to the introduction of a policy that stirred the waters of international trade. Trump's tariff policy, viewed by economist Stephanie Pomboy as a negotiating tactic, rather than a permanent shift towards a tariff-based economy. The goal? To achieve trade reciprocity, to bring manufacturing back to American shores, and to breathe life into domestic industries. However, this introduces a seismic shift, a departure from the Globalization Framework that has held strong for decades. Where once the U.S. consumer was the engine of global growth, countries would lend money back to the U.S. by purchasing treasuries. But now the question looms, who will finance U.S. budget deficits if this long-standing arrangement is disrupted? Pomboy advises to keep a keen eye on the Treasury market. This key indicator could offer insights into how this transition unfolds. Recent disruptions in the Treasury market, particularly the unwinding of the basis trade, have seen hedge funds with highly leveraged positions being compelled to sell as yields rise. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has reportedly shifted his gaze from the stock market to the Treasury market as a measure of success. He suggests that domestic banks could step in to replace foreign central banks in purchasing treasuries. But Pomboy believes that this won't be enough. The Federal Reserve might need to step in with quantitative easing to stabilize the Treasury market, as domestic banks alone might not be capable of absorbing all the Treasury issuance. Meanwhile, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has spoken of an impending recession. However, he believes it will be less severe than the 2008 crisis. As eyes turn to China, it seems that the administration is applying pressure on multiple fronts to bring China to the negotiating table. Bessent argues that China, as the surplus nation, has more to lose in a trade war. In a possibly related development, gold prices have surged. This could be an indication of countries diversifying away from U.S. treasuries, perhaps in response to U.S. trade policies. There's a palpable sense of urgency in the administration's economic agenda. This could be driven by concern about the upcoming midterm elections and the potential loss of congressional control. In conclusion, Trump's tariff policy has set in motion a series of events that could potentially reshape the global economy. The Treasury market, the role of domestic banks, the stance of foreign nations, and the actions of the Federal Reserve will all play a part in determining the outcome. As we move forward, it's essential to keep our finger on the pulse of these developments, for they will illuminate the path we're set to tread in the global economy.